I've been playing quite a bit of Tears of the Kingdom recently, and man, it's pretty good. I wasn't the biggest fan of Breath of the Wild, but the freedom to build pretty much anything in Tears of the Kingdom allows for some hilarious and awesome moments. So far the story seems pretty interesting too. But although I have been really enjoying the game, this video is going to focus on my favorite dedicated Switch Zelda game, Link's Awakening. The game originally released for the Game Boy in 1993. The game was first re-released in 1998 for the Game Boy Color with the name Link's Awakening DX. That was the first version I played, and I remember really enjoying the overall island vibes to the game, but I couldn't make much progress as it was pretty tough to figure things out without a guide. Like a lot of games from that era, it got swept under the rug for me. That is, until Nintendo randomly announced a remake in February of 2019. When the Switch remake was announced, I didn't really remember much about playing the game from my childhood, but I knew I didn't really love Breath of the Wild and was looking to get my old school Zelda fix. At that time, Nintendo Switch Online only had NES and Super Nintendo games, so no classic 3D Zeldas. I was already excited about the traditional, somewhat linear, kind of open, kind of closed world that I love in classic Zelda games, but what really sold me on Link's Awakening was the gameplay in the trailer. I remember being absolutely blown away by the graphical improvements and honestly pretty brilliant art style. The first Zelda game I ever actually owned for myself was Wind Waker, so I'm a big fan of cartoony Link. After that trailer, Link's Awakening 2019 became the first Legend of Zelda game that I ever pre-ordered. Link's Awakening is known for being one of the weirder Legend of Zelda games. If you've seen my last video on Majora's Mask, it should be no surprise to you that I really enjoy the Zelda games that follow a traditional format but have pretty weird storylines. Instead of Zelda, you're helping a girl named Marin collect 8 instruments to wake up the windfish and escape the island that you randomly woke up on. The story is quite good, and surprisingly deep, but you don't fully find that out until the end of the game, which I won't be spoiling here. But there are so many great aspects of the game that I wouldn't recommend this game for the storyline alone. I can sit here all day and talk about Zelda soundtracks. As a musician myself, I can only assume that one of the things that made me such a huge Legend of Zelda fan is the constant timeless melodies they produce. Link's Awakening is definitely no exception to this. Whether it's the little melody Marin hums, or one of the many excellent songs that plays throughout the game, the sounds are all memorable and sure to get stuck in your head. The gameplay and visuals are excellent. I'm actually not really a huge fan of top-down Zelda games. My love for the franchise stems from the Nintendo 64 and GameCube titles. And although I played a bit of Minish Cap growing up, the 3D games were always just a bit more interesting to me. The Switch remake of Link's Awakening completely changes that. Its 2D 3D art style is incredibly unique, and although it's still top-down, it doesn't feel as limiting in this game as other Zelda games. The combat feels tight and has variety, the visuals have a lot of depth, there are some side-scrolling elements to keep it fresh, and the color choice throughout the game is absolutely amazing. Seeing Chain Chomp in 3D on a Zelda game was definitely a bit of a weird but cool experience. My only complaints in this department were the noticeable frame dips when the game first came out, but after revisiting the game, they seem to have done a good job patching that out. Now, I encourage everyone to form their own opinions when playing a game. I think over 90% of people would prefer Breath of the Wild to Link's Awakening, as there is just so much more content in Breath of the Wild. That's actually one of the things that made me really love Link's Awakening though. The pacing is simply perfect. It doesn't feel too long or too short. It's only 15 to 20 hours long, but that feels like the perfect amount of time for a game like this to keep you interested. Again, this is all just my personal preference, but I'm a huge fan of long JRPGs. The difference is, if those long JRPGs take 50 hours to complete, the story goes along with those 50 hours. I like some exploration, but not so much that it takes away from the story. In Breath of the Wild, or even in Tears of the Kingdom, you can explore for hundreds of hours without doing anything storyline related. This can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on the type of person you are and the type of game you like to play. It's all preference, but I've always been a storyline over gameplay type of guy if I had to choose just one. So Tears of the Kingdom is shaping up to be one of the biggest video game releases of all time. With massive critical acclaim, it is sure to be a lot of people's very first Legend of Zelda game. And while this is not at all a bad thing, I'm making this video to hopefully encourage some of you to go back and play the oldies when you're finished. Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Link's Awakening, these are all 10 out of 10 traditional Zelda experiences in my opinion, and I think it's cool to see where a series came from versus where it is now. I feel like Link's Awakening 2019 is the least talked about Nintendo Switch Zelda game, and I think that's a bit of a shame. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe as it does really help the channel out. Stay tuned for the next one, and have fun playing Tears of the Kingdom.